This is our patch 8.10 patch notes. So what do I have to say about these patch notes? Currently, I would say that there are a bunch. Usually I preface all my patch notes with meta talk about what I think about the current state of the game, yada yada yada. Generally, I think that there are some problems with the game in the sense that I think that bot lane is still a little bit too strong. And there are some items and some things like the resolve tree as well as D shield that are a little bit over the top, as well as general damage in the game. However, I have nothing really specific I want to hit on right now, so I kind of want to just dive into the patch notes and see what they bring up. So this is patch 8.10. Green Summoners, welcome to patch 8.10. Last patch we visited Mana Wave Clear. This patch we're figuring out the jungle. Cool. Most jungle camps will be worth less experience early, but the Rift Scalar will be worth a lot more. The jungle who can fight to win the river for River Crab or sneak one when another jungle can't respond will be at an experience and sustain advantage, which can turn into that can turn into plays around the map. All right, so is there a way for me to talk about this? I have a lot to say about that. Let's talk about it here. Okay. So my first overall thought process is that this is really bad way to do it. And I'll explain when we get to the jungle changes later down. So next time, bounties. We've long cast bounties as a team objective. Kill the enemy, fight the enemy for a boosted gold that can get your team back into the game. At the root of this is the ability to come back from a game that might otherwise snowball out of control. However, at the moment, spreading that reward to the whole team prevents individual players from feeling fully rewarded for their big plays. We're conducting a balance pass on non-keystone runes. This rune system has had some time to breathe, and we're going through and tuning some numbers of the minor runes. Cool. All right, let's get it off. Sion. This champion is still one of the best tanks in the game alongside Ornn. He is just very strong. So what ends up happening? The bonus damage sign lets the secondary target struck by Roar the Slayer is too much. It's just too much. Too much wave clear, too much poke, too much long range lane control. By having E apply the armor strike to all targets struck, Q damage will be higher on target struck by E and further incentivized him to max Q, or at least to ensure there are more trade-offs when he does opt into range control E's offers. So they lower both base health regen to the point where they shouldn't have even included it because it doesn't matter. I guess it's by 10%. And they decrease the damage by 5. Increase the AP ratio. Increase the AP ratio. What? Decrease the secondary damage down from 130% to 100%, and decreased armor on everyone's, and the armor duration increases longer. Okay, so generally the damage done is less. Okay, I like that. I think that that's way better. This is probably what should have happened to Sion in the first pass of his nerf. I saw they nerfed a lot of his Q, and for no reason, because his E has always been kind of his the trademark ability and the ability that's been the most problematic, because it gives him wave clear harass and range harass. And I think that like they hit the wrong stuff the first time, and now they're going back to hit the right stuff. I don't think this will make the champion too weak either. I think generally Sion is still very, very good. This is just a very good nerf, especially this part right here. Dr. Mundo, our cost and cooldown increased. Yeah, last patch you might have buffed Mundo to like some really, really good amounts. So now they're nerfing him a little because he's a little bit too strong. Cool. I kind of agree because Mundo is kind of insane. When I played against him a couple of times, whether it's Emax or Qmax, every Mundo that gets ahead just seems relatively unkillable. I don't think this is too much of a nerf for him. I still think he's somewhat good. Yeah, this seems whatever. He's still going to be pretty good. Poppy movement speed increased. We're intended to approximately by in the neutral, but end up taking her down slightly. We're reverting a movement speed nerf to give Poppy more room to maneuver around fights. Sure, this will help a little bit, but this is mainly irrelevant. She's still not going to be too good, except for in very, very specific situations against like Kalista or like Lucian, like low range threats, low block, stuff like that. Zach, what? Much like Shyvana, the balance changes, we wanted to make sure that his ability damage Zach felt significantly different from Tank Zach. Why? While Tank Zach has the durability to sell an opponent's faces matching W, a damage-oriented Zach can't survive that punch as easily. Yes, for good reason. Shifting his AP ratios out of W and onto his higher impact ability should ensure that when Zac does build damage, he feels like he was made for it literally. No. There's no reason to incentivize like that kind of build though. Like you don't need to be able to build an AD version of every AP champ. So there's no reason to build every tank into an AP champ as well. I don't think that it I mean, if their idea is that they should encourage some sort of splash and AP itemization, I can see that. Because there's some Zacs that can build Leandries, for instance, and do relatively well with it. However, the idea that you should be encouraged to build AP on this champion and on tanks in general, it is a trend that kind of scares me because I don't think that should be the case. So remove the AP ratio, no longer increases. Now, oh, they shifted the AP ratio from W over to E and ulti. Okay, I don't think it'll do much. I know maybe going double pen would still be okay on Zac. But maybe juggling him at AP might be okay, but I think that generally this champion is still going to be somewhat not playable as AP. Similar to AP Shyvana, maybe it's gimmickly good. Cool. I just don't know if I agree so much with this statement, like, or the implication that you should be building damage Zac. Bard, W mana cost decreased. The high mana cost of Bard's W limits his uptime, especially in the laning phase. With the lower mana costs, he won't have to choose it directly to provide healing to himself or his allies. This is so nice for Bard. This is actually really, really nice. Coming from someone who plays a lot of Bard, the high mana cost was definitely a turnoff, and it's really, really difficult to play Bard right now to a lot of meta poke champions like Karma, like Soraka, so this will help out a lot. Kindred, small quality of life buff. If an ally killed a hunted jungle champion, jungle monster within 6 seconds of Kindred damaging it, Kindred is still acquired the pass. Oh, that's nice. That's cool. So if you start a scuttle and someone finishes it, then you still get the mark. Nice. Runic Echoes now builds out lost chapters of Aether Wisp, movement speed removed, cooldown reduction, mana increased. Mage junglers have been pretty scarce in a Rift. We changes the Hunter's Talisman, which helps spellcasters feel better about jungling before they pick up Runic. So they gave mana and gave CDR. I don't necessarily know if I like this better. In some champions it'll be better. Generally, CDR is a very valuable stat for most people. There are some champions that may not like it that much, but generally most champions would prefer CDR plus mana to the movement speed. So I think overall this is a net buff. Warding tell them wards last longer but have a higher cooldown. Oh, okay. So the ward duration lasts 30 seconds longer early. Oh, this is such a big change though. Oh my god. Well, this is gonna get some stuff getting used to. I'm very surprised they decided to opt for this way. They essentially increased the ward lasting duration by 50% at level 1, and they don't find that important. Like, this is like kind of a side note to the initial stuff up here, which is very, very odd because I think this is one of the most important things, especially for players who are playing at a level where invades happen all the time. The idea that you can ward earlier, 30 seconds earlier to the invade, is insane because it means that for the most part they can't early invade and force a ward and have it disappear after doing their own buff. Like, it would still be there if you're going buff to buff. So this is definitely something I didn't expect. Whether it's good or not, I don't know. I don't necessarily know if I would encourage having this. It means vision control is more important and there's less words to work around. Generally would say that this is a good thing, but that's my immediate impression. I'm relatively unsure. Okay, let's keep going. Support and jungle item exclusivity. You can no longer have a jungle item and a support item. God bless. So you no longer can have stupid relic shield on junglers to get wards down. All right, thank you. Good stuff, Riot. This is good. Great stuff. I liked it. Runes, balance pass, cheap shot got buffed. 15 to 60, great. I really think this is good. Matches with sudden impact thing. Ingenious Hunter, base it's more front weighted toward the initial value. Cool, I like that too. It's relatively good. Sorcery phase rush increased by 10% early. Okay, Soul and Swain will like this a lot. Diana may consider taking this again. This is actually a really nice buff for early game for sure. I like it. Resolve, demolish increased because Chrysalis got decreased. Thank God. Oh my God, thank God for these two. Chrysalis and Bone Plane both got nerfed. This is nothing but a blessing for people who are trying to make plays and kills in the early game, because you'll see a lot of people go resolve to try to prevent deaths. This is directly impacting that, and demolish is trying to become more of a nice thing to do, but no one will ever take demolish when bone plating is possible. Even now, it might be just barely viable, but bone plating is like crowding out everything else on that tree essentially. I think these are obviously very good changes to the current state of the game. I think resolve is and stuff like this is just gonna be a problem overall. Similar to D-Shield, the idea that resolve is supposed to bring, at least the way that I think is, this is supposed to be if you're in a matchup that needs defense, you should take this. However, the game state that we live in is that if you can't lane, you can't exist as a champion, because the game is so tempo oriented that like you not being able to lane most of the times means that you're not the first one to buff. You always get invaded. Your jungle has no pressure. You're the second one to roam. And so the idea that this is supposed to do is, it's like, oh, so if you're playing Diana into a bad matchup, you can survive the matchup while still being down CS. But what it ends up being is, if you're a mid laner against an assassin, you're unkillable on top of having better scaling. And or it just also encourages like you losing trades if you're the one initiating, which should happen in a state you should be rewarded for making plays for the most part. And so I really dislike the current mastery and or the current rune system in general, and it's something I'll talk more in detail about later. Stopwatch available earlier. Now this is really interesting. There will actually be times where I will pick up perfect timing now, because it's now 2 minutes earlier than boots. I can see in situations where I'm playing against Fizz or Zed mid lane. I can see in certain situations where it's long enough away from my level 6, which I'd say but it's about 6 minutes, and it's nice enough to where like it's not at 10 minutes where it's not very useful. And so I think there will be situations where I'll pick this up. Alright, jungle. Jungle monsters give less experience, but experience scales with level. Has too much of an impact early game. Specifically, they'll be too frequently able to gank at level 3 before solo laners even reach that level. We can decrease consistent access to early jungle pressure, but offer more valuable Rift Scuttle as a new way for junglers to gain the lead. Monster experience now scales with level, capped at level 7. Okay, Rift Scuttler. 2 Rift Scuttlers spawn at the start of the game, but after both die, only 1 spawn at the time for the remainder of the game. Now Rift Scuttler is tankier early, worth significantly more experience. Rift Scuttler isn't a hotly contested objective we'd like it to be, so we're looking up the reward of your girl's Scuttle to get more encouraged interaction before junglers and teams as the game progresses. Becoming the Scuttle Slayer will now give junglers an experience edge over the opponents, not just a vision or a spot of vision. 2 crabs in an initial spawn. Scuttlers will spawn at the top of the river. Both must be killed before the respawn timer activates. Once both initial Rift Scuttles are killed, only 1 will spawn. Respawn timer is lower. Extra defense now have a particle. Rift Scuttler chance of stealing. What's the base health? 1200. Experience gained. Oh, okay. I'm gonna be upset. But let me keep going. Okay, starter items have just been updated. Let's read the change list. Heart's Talent is relatively weak. Yes, it is. It's just definitely a weaker option. So what happens? The Kindle damage and heal is better. Generally, this will reward tanks and AoE champions, such as the Mumu. Great, I like it. Up to 40 mana per second based on missing mana while juggling river. First, okay. Damaging over 5 will no longer be amped to 75 via bonus health. Okay. Hunter's Machete will remove the attack speed, really? And providing power elsewhere in the item, we initially gave attack speed so junglers wouldn't be forced into precision tree. Now it's become less of a problem with the introduction of rune set splitting. Watching to see if any junglers are hit hard. Okay. I don't mind that. I think that's okay, but this is definitely a lot harder. Maybe this marks the transition over to more tank-oriented AoE junglers. This will be kind of interesting. Skirmish Saber inherently the changes of Talisman and Machete. Okay, and the same thing for Stalkers. this needs to be looked at, in my opinion. I think that there's no reason that junglers should have an exhaust and ignite built into their skirmisher saber. And I think that it's generally been a low priority problem since the inception of the item. It's still somewhat of a big problem, and it's not really a choice, right? People always go skirmishers over stalkers unless they're like Volibear or certain assassins that need the immediate burst and don't even have enough time to do 3 seconds of damage. I think that this is something that should be looked at relatively soon. Okay, let's talk. So I just like these jungle changes, and let me talk to you why. The things I do agree about. I agree that junglers have too much of an impact early game, especially immediately early. There are a lot of junglers that can get to level 3 before the laners. There are junglers that can get to level 2 before the laners, and that would probably still be the case. But level 3 before the laners with double buffs feels bad. In the early game, it's like you can never scrap the other player because you're worried the jungler will be there because the jungler will always be stronger than the laners early game. I think that's somewhat of a problem. Okay, I agree with this statement to some degree. Okay. This is where I think that they just completely bombed it. Like you were given like this great idea, and we're giving it to you, and you dropped it. Like you threw it on the floor and you dropped it. So this is the problem. Okay, I think the ideal world of League of Legends is when there's multiple metas that are available to play and multiple champions. So for me, the best meta would encourage a wide variety of champion picks as well as a wide variety of metas in terms or styles of play. So you like split push, team fighting, siege, poke, all these things would be possible. However, this is a problem. The thing about Rift Herald isn't the fact that it's a 1v1 jungle interaction thing. Rift Herald is largely decided on who's winning lanes. So by buffing Rift Herald, all you do is you encourage the teams to run better jungle or better mid laners, better early game mid laners, better early game bot laners. And this directly has impact on every single game that you play. Just off the bat, here's what's gonna happen. Okay? Sorry, Rift Scuttler. You know what I mean. This is directly what's gonna happen. The very helpful, high teammate oriented bot lane gives your bot lane a leash. Okay, the enemy player does not. They shove in your bot lane. They go to take, but they slow push it, and so they build up a wave. And at level 2, both of them hit level 2. You can't contest, right? Because they're the first one to the wave. They've been building up this wave for a while. At level 2, they run over and get the Rift Herald and get a free 115 XP for themselves. And they remove it from the enemy jungle. Because right now, the camps aren't, like the Rift Herald Scuttler is not part of, or is part of the jungle's pool of effective overall experience. But in fact, this just turns into a pool of bot lane experience or a pool of mid lane experience, right? So let's say I'm playing Aurelion Sol. I shove twice, 2 waves, cool. You know, I got a stun, I can stun it. I run to Rift Herald at level 2 of my jungler. I just got that one. And then we cross the map from one Rift Herald to the other one. Congrats, I just secured 220 experience for my jungler, as well as 2 things for my team. And I think that this encourages really, really bad things from the mid laner, because especially when you look at my picks, a lot of my picks can't shove early. I don't have the ability to contest stuff like this. And I don't want to be forced to contest things like this, because this essentially decides the early game jungle matchup, giving 100 experience at what? What is 100 experience worth? 100 experience is worth a buff camp at rank 1. Isn't that insane? Or Gromp at rank 1. So it's like, there's essentially 2 Gromps worth of experience that are free. And sure, they have 400 more health, but for a lot of champions early, that doesn't matter. I think this is the wrong way to be able to impact the jungle. I don't think the jungle, like, I don't disagree with this, right? I do disagree with how they wanted the junglers to interact with each other. This isn't a jungle, the Rift Scuttler is not a jungle interaction area. It is a like laner interaction area. Like the reason that, or how you play the game right now is like your mid lane wins and runs to random stuff to help you out, pretty much, as a jungler. And so your first scuttle a lot of times isn't depending on how well you skirmish, it's depending on your mid laner. And that's only going to be more of the case here. I am kind of not happy to see this, like relatively unhappy. I hope there are more changes future down the line. Bounties. Kill streak bounties are now granted only to the killer, not the team. Really? Currently, the rewards a player for performing too well are split among the whole team and will begin to remotely look to remedy that over time. We're starting the patch with bounties, shifting the reward for team to a personal one. We'll be investigating other things. Since all bounty kills no longer grant additional gold. There's no more compensation for getting a streak? Or bounty kills? Dying resets bounty to 0. Wow. Okay. This generally just means that there's less gold, right? Among team, less gold overall, more personal gold. It means the value of individual kills is more. Like in the game right now, I currently don't value kill stealing. I don't care. Support takes my kill, cool, have it. You know, I don't care. Now it might be a little bit more worthwhile to give the gold to specific people. I think generally because there's less gold in the game, it's harder to come back. I don't actually know if I like that. I think it's okay, but sure, I'm indifferent about that. But this generally means that I need to pay attention to who kills what a little bit more. Replays. You can now download the replays of other players' ranked games. Oh, interesting. Okay, so I can review the tape of other junglers that I might want to be looking at, or other mid laners. Okay, this might be definitely a better, or this is definitely a better improvement. League client. Resolve the issue of league client was using more root systems than have. Higher end systems should see increased FPS. Yes, I'm so happy. This is so nice. A+ all around here, man. I'm so happy. Like my FPS has kind of been dipping a lot recently, and I've been really worried actually. But I am very, very happy here. Okay, rest of these bug fixes usually I don't care about. Yeah, pulse fire ribbon, 6 skin, 6 skin. This one's for the ladies, God bless. Dragon Master Swain chromas. Masterwork chest will now be available for 1 gemstone in place of the Hextech chest. Okay, that's always a nice thing. Okay, so generally, what do I think of this patch? I love the Sion thing. I like the Bard thing. I'm interested to see where the warding thing kind of resolves itself into. I think one of the biggest things is the Chrysalis bone plating nerfs will be very helpful. I do think that's very nice. And then the jungle changes are going to be interesting. And in fact, this might promote a lot more tank-oriented junglers. I'll certainly be trying out a lot of old Hunter's Talisman junglers that were relatively good with Hunter's Talisman before. Stuff like Kayn, stuff like a Mumu, might be seeing a lot more play. Okay. I think it's a soft patch. Like they did a lot of big things in the warding tree and the jungle, as well as the resolve tree. So I can't say they didn't do a lot. It's just very strange how they approach the jungle. I think I'm relatively pessimistic about the change, and I guess we'll see how it feels from actually playing it. Maybe, who knows? Maybe the Rift Herald becomes like the de facto thing, and it causes people to skirmish more, which creates more action. You know, maybe that's something I didn't consider. But my initial thoughts are that the Rift Sculler promotes the opposite of what I want in the game. It forces actually certain champions to be picked more just because of their raw laning and raw pushing ability. Rift Sculler, you know what I mean. Anyways, that's my 8-10 patch rundown. I'm gonna go play some mats. See you guys in a bit. Wait a second. Oh, I should look at Pyke. You're right. You're right. I need to do Pyke. I need to do Pyke. I apologize. How is it the loop the both in? It is right. Right. It's right here. It's right here. Okay. Cool. Sick. I'm trying to think if I misread this, because some people are pointing out that maybe I messed up. And it seems not the case. Okay, let's talk about Pyke. So, to preface Pyke is one of their darker champions that they're releasing. I got to very briefly try out Pyke in a custom game. I did not go into a full game with it. I probably played for it for about 5 to 10 minutes. So that's about it. I did not get to see much of the champion's kit in action, and I didn't note the passive when I played it initially. So Pyke is their first assassin support. So that's what immediately drew my eyes to him, because I was like, look, I'm already feeding with assassins in the mid lane, the top lane, and the jungle position. It'd be nice to add one more position, to be able to, do that on. And Riot, of course, obliged. So I don't really care too much about his lore, how dark and edgy he is. I don't care. I watched Westworld Season 2. I'm already up to date on the edginess. So instead, let's go ahead and talk about his kit. So his passive is, when Pyke is unseen by enemies, he rapidly regenerates some of his HP, recently lost enemy champions. Pyke also converts his bonus health into bonus attack damage instead. Wow, that heals real quick. What the Okay, well, my immediate thoughts on this is that Warding Bush is going to be very good into Pyke. And Pyke might have to walk out of XP range or walk really far in the back to proc his passive in a lot of situations. It is very interesting, but probably detrimental to you to use this because it gives up lane pressure. Okay, this part I would need to see the numbers of it, but it pretty much means that any health item you buy converts into AD. Now the conversion rate's probably not very good. It does, however, mean that at every point during the game, Pyke is always going to be squishy, because the best thing you can do is only buy resist on him. However, he will have a lot of AD. I know there's a lot of builds right now that are doing transcendence and multiple cleavers to try to abuse this. There's a bunch of different things. I am very interested to see how this works out. $14 HP to 1 AD. That seems okay. I'm kind of interested to see how it works out on live. I think I see the number, but in my mind, I can't formulate that into good or bad for certain things. Okay, Bone Skewer. Stabs as greatly slows all enemies in front of him. Okay, hold, readies and throws his harpoon, impaling the first enemy target and dragging them back. Okay. So for me, it looks like you throw something like a thresh hook. However, they get brought back a lot farther. And the first thing is just a slow. So it's kind of very interesting. You almost always be using it on the hold on the hold thing, because this is probably your only initiation tool / pick tool, and they do get dragged back quite a distance. Based on this, looks like it's about 250, 300 range. That's a lot of range for you to cover. Almost like I would say 3/5 of a Blitzcrank Q. Ghost Dive. Get stealth, procs his passive. Ainer's camouflage increases movement speed. Then decays over a few seconds. Hides Pyke from view while enemies remain outside of his immediate area. Okay, just a stealth thing. It would be a little bit underwhelming if it didn't also synergize with his passive. It's kind of his gap closer and his means of mobility and initiating a fight comboed with Q. Cool. Pyke dashes, leaving behind the drowned Phantom. After a delay, the Phantom returns Pyke damaging and stunning enemies it passes through. Ooh, sick, you can flash it? Wait, that's sick. That's already going to be used in the montage reel. That's cool. So there's already some stuff you can do with it. You can use mobility to get in. You can drag him in, use your mobility to go around. And maybe even use your W to reposition very quickly with this. So that's cool. The stun seems like 1 second, so it seems pretty decent. Not terrible. Death from below, kind of his signature ability. This strikes an X shape, executing those below a certain flat amount of health. And it's a Darius ulti, so it resets. This is probably one of the most unique things about his kit. Also, they'll gain full kill gold off the assist, so it gives more gold to your team. And it makes them a sick sound. So lovely. I think that's great. As Pyke, your cutthroat cripples and kills all across you. Start by stalking your victims on the Ghostwater Dive, lurking them right to the edge of vision. Resurface with Swift Bone Skewer, butcher multiple enemies at point blank range. Hold the blade a little longer, just a harpoon. So you initiate with W into E and then Q as they run away. Okay. He did a lot of damage there. And through a Shen shield, that's pretty interesting. Wow. I don't know how fed this guy is, but that Pyke did a lot of damage. A lot more than I thought he should. Huh. Playing with Pyke. They say death is the best crowd control ability. Okay. Ooh, nice flash. Got the double stun. Ooh, and nice Q follow-up. That was so nice. Q can flip them distances if you're close. I get it. Okay, so I think that's relatively cool. There's a lot of cool things about this. This sand skin looks nice too. I just think the idea of the champion is cool. I like the idea of an assassin support. I, however, do think relatively to balance out his kit means that his laning is going to be weak. In the current state of the game, having weak laning against stuff like Karma Soraka is probably not your best bet. He's probably going to be relatively weak on the offset, and especially because the champions are required relatively high execution or decently high execution, he's probably also going to be not only hard to play, but have a low win rate early. In fact, I would be surprised to see this champion have a high win rate till after you play a lot of games, if ever. I don't think it has quite the same mastery as Bard, but should be about like half of Bard's relative. Actually, maybe there's a lot more than I expect. You know, maybe the champion is deceptively hard to play because it requires a lot of positioning for the champion. So I think that this is going to be very interesting, and I am more than willing to try this champion immediately. I don't think that this champion will fit in other roles at all. I mean, a lot of that is due to this passive, which makes him not tanky at all. So I think that this probably is going to be just a support laner, but I'm sure people will try him in other positions as well. And that pretty much cuts it off. I'm going to go play some mats. I'll see you guys in a bit.